Hello friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Katja and this video is a bit different from my normal ones. I know many of my followers are from the US, so I thought you might like to see what my recent trip to New York looked like. The kids had a holiday and our whole family packed our packs for the longest trip we have ever done as a family so far. Our flight left Helsinki on an early Sunday morning on a sunny February day. So this is how Finland looks from high up. It is a forest, as long as your eye can see. Bye bye Finland! We had a transfer in Stockholm and then flew across the Atlantic. Here we are already above the US. The landscape looks very different from Finland. Lots of hills and leafy forests, while Finland is more smooth and has mostly coniferous forests. But then, we were already pretty south. We landed on Newark, that is in New Jersey, but we could already see the Manhattan skyline from the plane. To be honest, I had never seen anything like this in real life. Our hotel was in Midtown, close to the Times Square. It was about 3 p.m. and our room wasn't ready yet, so we took some time seeing the view from the hotel terrace on the 32nd floor.
Now they can't test the guards, had to defy the odds. It only get tougher back then. We thought times was hard. Told them don't write me off. Told her don't type at all. To all the ones that gave up, this a reply to y'all. That way be here.
After getting our room, we were tired but tried to stay awake until the evening. So we decided to leave the hotel and dive into the hustle and bustle of the big city. And where to find the biggest crowd? The Times Square. For us, it was a bit too much, to be honest. I later heard that the real New Yorkers avoid the place as much as they can.
From the year before, furthermore, we wanted the further things more. They took another route, so what you think we kings for? No angel ever said, yo, who these wings for? Ain't no champion ever said, who these rings for?
After dinner, we collapsed in our beds, our heads spinning from the noise and the lights.
Doing less, doing more, it's really either or. Meet them halfway when one close, here go another door.
The next morning we were ready to take in the city once more, so we headed to the Empire State Building. A great thing about visiting New York in February was that the lines to the sites went really quickly. The lines looked long, but we were proceeding almost normal walking speed. The route up took us through a museum telling about the construction and the history of the landmark. The first elevators took us to the 81st floor, and then we could either wait in the line for an elevator or to take the steps to go up the last 6 floors. We took the steps and arrived a bit winded to the viewing platform. The view was amazing, and it was definitely worth our time waiting in line. Also, the weather couldn't have been better.
Head full of steam, cause you want it, huh? But it's in your genes, you was born a star. Yeah, damn, we done came far.
By the way, I had always imagined that walking amidst the skyscrapers of New York City would feel different from walking among shorter buildings. Perhaps they would block out the sky, and being next to them would feel claustrophobic. I can't really explain it better. In reality, though, the perspective almost makes the height of the buildings disappear, and tall structures are hard to even perceive up close. We then spent the afternoon visiting some friends in Brooklyn. This gave us opportunity to walk over the Brooklyn Bridge.
All I see is green like my name was Draymond. ISO the brand and you know we gon' rain on. Shout out to the fans from the jump that stayed on. Rolling every hour of the day till the pain gone. Now every time we drop, yeah, they know that is napalms. ISO.
We started the next day by stuffing ourselves with American pancakes and then headed to the American Museum of Natural History. One thing about the museums in New York is that they are huge, and there's always too much to see. We decided to go and see the dinosaur exhibit and the Hall of Ocean Life. Now, doesn't this tortoise have the friendliest looking skull ever? Then we saw a film at the planetarium and exited through the halls of gems and minerals. Then I headed to the fabric shops. Our hotel was right next to the garment district, which allowed me several short trips in the middle of our sightseeing. The fabric shops in New York reminded me of the similar shops in London. The shops were small but filled from floor to ceiling. Unlike London, the selection of fabrics was fancier. There were so many different kinds of lace, sequins and silk. Silk was also what I wanted to buy. Silk is very expensive in Finland and the selection is small. Here I could just go to where all the silk taffeta or chiffon was and select the exact shade I wanted. By the way, I'm sorry how the camera swings around. I was a bit too excited of all the fabrics to keep still. The selection of trims was enormous. One thing I didn't spot was fine cotton lace. Perhaps it is something that is easier to find in Europe. I am planning to make a Titanic themed dress, so I was browsing everything sparkly and golden. I ended up buying these 2 golden trims. They say that New York is a city that never sleeps, but that can be said of the fabric shops, most of which close at 6 p.m. So, I bought a little bit of trim, but let's see what else we can find. Some of the shops have already closed, but Day 4 was our Broadway day. We had reserved tickets to see Hadestown at 2 p.m, so we took the morning easy, strolling around the Midtown Manhattan. We went to see the Grand Central Station and the United Nations and popped in the Strand bookstore. Then we had a quick lunch before heading for the musical. Of course, I couldn't film there, so I don't have anything to show you. Hadestown was great, but it didn't still get to the top 3 live musicals I've seen. I think that Hamilton that we saw in London a few years ago is my favorite, and Billy Elliot that I saw in Helsinki comes as a second. I think that Wicked might be the third on my list. After the musical, I noticed that I had about an hour to spare before the fabric shops closed, so I headed out to MHA trimming. Then I was determined to find the mood that I had not been able to find the previous day. As Bernadette Banner had said on her Old New York Garment District video, MHA had affordable silk ribbons aplenty. I stashed several colors as silk ribbon is much harder to find in Helsinki. Then I had only 15 minutes to spare when I arrived in Mood. So I really got a proper project runway experience dashing through shelves trying to find something in a very limited time. But then I remembered silk taffeta that I needed for a dress and I headed straight to my target. I found this absolutely perfect shade of green taffeta that cost about half I would have paid in Finland. Okay, still 5 meters of it wasn't exactly cheap, but it was for a souvenir and how often did I have a chance of shopping in New York? I quickly had my fabric measured up and got out of the store in record time. Day 5. We had booked a cruise to see the Statue of Liberty and the New York skyline from a boat. The boats must be very crowded during the summer, but in February they were half empty and it was easy to find a place to sit and to take some photos. Unfortunately, I had forgotten to charge my camera battery that ran out midway. Luckily, we had our phones with us so that we could take at least some pics of the Lady Liberty. After a quick lunch, we headed to the Intrepid Museum that is on an old aircraft carrier. The aircraft carrier was huge, and the farthest side of the deck housed a space shuttle Enterprise. Me and my husband had completely opposite reactions to the shuttle. Mikko was saying that it is huge. I was surprised that it was that small, as I had thought it bigger in my mind. I have seen Saturn V rocket before, so my scale of big things that go into space might have been affected. Again, I managed to steal a few minutes to go fabric shopping one final time. I went to B&Q that was hiding in the second story of a building near our hotel. Then I went back to the 39th Street and, if I remember correctly, the shop was called Hamid Fabrics and both green silk organza and this gorgeous lace fabric. In the evening I strolled along the Fifth Avenue in a slight drizzle. The sunny weather couldn't have stayed forever, but I was actually lucky that I was able to see the city changing when the wet pavement started reflecting the city lights. The day 6 was the Metropolitan Art Museum day. Again, the museum was huge and we had no hope seeing everything. We started from the ground floor, which hosted the Costume Institute's exhibition Women Dressing Women. I think these dresses speak for themselves. Then we went and strolled around the museum, stopping at our favorite pieces of art. The last day came way too soon. Before our flight we had some time, so we went to pay visit to some people that aren't here anymore. We took the subway downtown and came out inside the Oculus Mall that really was quite spectacular. Stepping out, we were faced with the One World Trade Center, the reflecting glass walls of which made the building almost transparent looking. Then we went around the corner to see the 9/11 memorial. The two pools with waterfalls now stand where the Twin Towers used to stand, and the edges of the pools were inscribed with the names of the people that were lost during that awful day. Besides the rushing of the water, the area was quiet and peaceful, and I found it very beautiful. And then it was the time for us to fly back home. Will I ever see New York again? I don't know, but I loved my visit. Thank you for watching and see you soon on another video. Bye!